Boom, baby. We're back. Episode 3 of the Blurred State of Mind.
We back. We are here, but not queer. I'm just kidding. No, shout out to all my queer homies. Love y'all. I want to say, hopefully we can do a show soon. You know who I'm talking to? Ed.
Yep.
You know I want you. Come on, man. Quit playing with me. Quit ducking me, man.
Focus. Okay, so the topic, especially coming to the end of the year, holidays, is sometimes it's a beautiful time, sometimes it's tough. So the topic for today is family first.
And which it doesn't matter what time of year it is. Sometimes family sucks. You know it, I know it, and no one wants to admit it, but you know they suck, okay?
We're going to talk about that. So you're right. Family's family all year round. But just because it's blood doesn't make it your brother. Some of y'all get that later.
Right.
So we definitely want to give a shout out to some of our dear friends. First names, I don't know. A lot of people will know. But Aaron, definitely one of our creatives. Ian, just all around good guy. Like everybody needs one of those guys in the squad. Joe.
And probably the most family man. He is the family man.
Out
of our group, you know you the family man. You
yeah, that's the family guy.
Twin popping out mofo.
Hey, chill.
Family man.
Joe, he actually gave us the name for this one, which I appreciate.
Shout out to Joe.
He's quiet, but man, that's the most down friend ever. You can count on him. Gabe, amazing guy, and he's the one that will rather do it than talk about it, which I always appreciate.
But we don't get you.
JJ, actually, doesn't he live around the corner?
Yeah, JJ's not far from here, but I know JJ, you got your own family stuff going on, and God knows what else. I'll say, I know we're newer, recent friends, so I still know I got a lot to figure out with you, vice versa. But yeah, I know you local. Hopefully, we can introduce and do something and chop it up soon. Think about that UFC fight I was telling you about.
Yes.
I would love for us to go. It's going to be right here in our backyard. Let's do it.
I'm thinking about coming up from Atlanta, man. That's the invitation. So check it out. I mentioned those folks, and there's so many more people that have been supportive and given us feedback, and some people that weren't supportive and gave us feedback, so which we appreciate all of it. The reason we mentioned them, they were around when we were brainstorming the idea, so we're looking forward to bringing them on in the future. I consider it, I want to speak for you, that's really my extended family. They mean a lot to me. They've been with me through some thing and then, probably known them literally 2/3, 3/4 of my life. So
sure, I won't even use the word extended. You are family. Family isn't always who you come into the world with. Sometimes it's who you develop those bonds with along the way. Mm-hmm. Like I know you was talking about, shout out to our boy Aaron.
That's the guy.
I can go back
That's
to
the guy.
Being a teenager, man. So many nights I know I slept either on this man's couch or on the carpeted floor or whatever when me and my family, me and my mom was having our outs, and she was not having my BS, and she just like, hey, get out. And even if I got out, like I always knew I had a spot to go where I knew that Aaron was like one of the few people that was whipping around our age at the time. So I'm like,
that
hey,
old
man,
Buick. That Buick Regal.
Man, I know that I could call that man. He was going to pull up in that Regal, and we was either going to go hit some rallies and spend like the next $10 on basically a buffet of food. Because if you've ever been to rallies, you know you don't get a ton of food.
$10 to get you a little food.
Oh, you'll have food for the next day and a half, 2 days. You won't need nothing else. But yeah, man, I always knew I could count on you to come over, pull up in that Regal. We're going to get some food. We talk about what happened, man. Then we're going to go chop it up on the block and just keep it pushing and move past that issue.
True. Man, I got so many good stories. So 4-Pack Comics, it's the number 4-Pack Comics on Instagram, and I believe that'll pop up on Facebook too. He actually draws some amazing artwork.
Yeah, I think you could just Google him.
Oh, word? Is he? You could Google him?
Yeah, I think you just Google him and like his stuff will pop up.
Oh, that's dope. I didn't realize. See, I just call him. So yeah, he's got some dope designs he's put on shirts, so you can kind of express yourself. As part of where that title for the podcast came from. Black Nerd, the abbreviate is Blurred. So if you didn't know, now you know. So
and shout out to Jay-Z for making a song. Was it New York State of Mind back in the day?
Yep.
And that's where we pieced the rest of that together. Blurred State of Mind.
Thank you. I don't know if we ever told y'all that. So there you go. That's the background. That's the history.
Shout out to Jay-Z.
True. Michael Eric Dyson just wrote a biography on Jay-Z. Shout out to him for hitting $1 billion this year. That's goals right there from the gutter. how's that one song go? I went from Grams to Grammys, O's to Oscars.
Bro, is it bad that I just figured out how many zeros are actually in a billion?
It's a lot of zeros.
It's a lot of zeros.
Man, a couple commas, 2 comma club.
Several commas and a lot of zeros.
Yes. Hey, that's one of the goals. Okay, so let's talk about it. We didn't talk about the last one. We talked about goals a little bit. One of my goals is to be the first millionaire in my family. And it's not to collect the money. It's so that I can positively impact the lives of his daughter, my goddaughter. I've got siblings, and I want my parents to retire comfortably. Like I just want to set the example for success and give back to so many people that have helped me along the way. So there you go. That's my why. That's what I want for my family. And again, just because they're blood doesn't mean they're your brothers. And that works both ways. So some of these folks are so close, even if we're not related. So let's talk a little bit about a traditional family versus non-traditional and what that looks like for us moving through the holidays into 2020.
Like you said, to talk about traditional versus non-traditional, you go back a generation, maybe not even that long, I'll say a generation or two. We'll say that the most traditional family would be you'd have the husband, the wife, the kids, but the man was generally like, the breadwinner. He was out here working, bringing home the bacon, blah, blah, blah. Wife was at home cooking, taking care of the kids, make sure everything was clean, make sure that old boy had food when he came home. Of course, he come home pissed off. He's throwing steak up against the wall. He didn't care. It was a bad day. Boss pissed him off, passed him over for promotion, whatever. That's a traditional family. It's almost 2020 now. What does that look like now? Sometimes we have 2 men in the household, where if they're in a homosexual relationship, we have 2 women. Sometimes, the man might be home taking care of the kids, and the wife might be out here, or girlfriend, whoever might be.
I've run into that a couple times.
Exactly. Might be working and being the breadwinner now. They're really, whatever rules there was maybe 50, 60 years ago, we've completely broken them now. So that traditional stuff, while it may still exist, you see it less and less now. Women are more empowered. Y'all are more vocal and have a voice on a platform than I want to say at any other point in history.
Overdue, but slowly but surely makes progress.
Exactly, but y'all guys got it now. And shout out to y'all, to the women that actually want to put their foot on the gas pedal and take that lead and take that charge. Shout out to y'all. I'm raised by a single mother. She was out here doing her thing since day one. My father was never in the picture. No child support. He wasn't pulling up, or I didn't have to deal with my mother's tears because he didn't come pick me up on the weekends to go play baseball and none of that. Mom did it by herself, totally by herself. We didn't start getting something from dad until the VA started paying some bills later on down the road. And that's just because, he got sick or whatever. Point is, mom took care of everything. In which that might be the case for a lot of people out here. Actually, more often than not, especially in the black community, unfortunately. I know it's a stigma that we deal with. But, yeah, man, women have been holding it down since day one.
So, all of that, there's a lot to unpack. The big picture is take care of yours, love yours. That's it. I don't lose a lot of sleep over titles and definitions and gender roles. Take care of yours, love yours. And that's really the type of family that we want to build. Actually don't even live in Ohio anymore. I'm in Ohio right now because this was a priority for me, but also I want to see my goddaughter. She's down for a nap. She was gonna guest star with us, but
right, being here tearing some stuff up.
Right. It was just let her sleep. But that's important for me because I want her to have positive role models, and so it challenges me to be better too. It challenges me to grow and to think about the things I say. I cuss a lot, apparently. And then
we both
so I'll be cussing and yelling at the TV, whatever, I'm playing the game, whatever. And I'll turn and she's staring at me. I'm like, oh. And so I've cut it way down. I still slip up, but I definitely am more conscious about what I say and work on being a good example. Not just an example, a good example. So, and he'll get on me too. He's like, Bruce, chill. Your mom's right there.
The only reason why I even do that is because she's about to be 3, and of course we know that 2-3-year-olds, they literally say and repeat everything. And and what's so bad is when it comes to certain dialogue and cussing, literally, my youngest daughter's mother can text me or call me and be like, hey, Mara said blah blah blah, and just because she told me that she said a specific phrase, I can be like, yeah, that was me. Like I know exactly what phrase that is because that's a phrase that I use consistently. But if it's not, then I'm like, hey, I don't say that, so I know that's not me. So you need to check yourself, man.
So, and share as much or as little as you want. So you have two little girls, two gorgeous little girls, and then so 2 months. So what's that like navigating that space, keeping the communication open, and making that work?
As I feel like we all know, man, communication, it don't matter on what level, it is hard. But if you want it to work, you got to put in the effort. My oldest daughter is 5. She'll be 6 in January. My youngest daughter will be 3 in March. Like I said, she's down for a nap, so that's why you can get to see that little chunky, beautiful face today. But it has its challenges. As far as like coordinating schedules and whatnot, it hasn't been that bad. I've got one an hour down the road. I've got one here in the same city as me. So that comes with its own challenges and whatnot. As far as, like I said, transportation and communication, matching up schedules, and even so far as like being on the same timeline with those schedules, because I can with like my first kid's mom, we've got an agreement to meet like halfway. She comes from Dayton, I come from Columbus, whatever, and we have a mutually agreed halfway point that we meet at where we would do our drop off. So making sure that we know where we need to be, or if kids are sick, sometimes we're like, hey, they're not coming up because they're all jacked up or blah blah blah. Communication is always key. You got to talk. You have to talk. If you are going to get anywhere with another person, unless you are Charles Xavier and you can telepathically send messages across the damn planet, you got to talk. You got to open your mouth. You have to make your needs and wants known. And that has probably been the greatest tool that has allowed me to be the father that I am in either of my daughters' lives, to be honest with you. And for now, it works out perfect. Sometimes we disagree on stuff. Sometimes the schedules don't match up. And that just goes into being understanding and being patient of the circumstances too. Because everything's not always going to work out the way you want to. Or I might not always be able to see them every time that I want to. Or vice versa. Sometimes you give up holidays. Sometimes you don't. But like you said, communication is key. Got to talk.
Word. So I want to share my side of this. And maybe we talked about that, maybe we haven't. So I don't have any kids. Right now I don't have a partner. Actually, I have to be careful saying that because somebody thought I was gay one time. And I was like, personally...
People think I'm gay all the time. I don't know why.
I don't know. It's because... I'll tell you why. It's because we don't really care about people's title. We just like, are you a good person? Like, if you respect me, I respect you.
Right.
And that's as far as we think about it. And so other people, I guess, they try and put it whatever box. Or if it doesn't fit in a box, they just assume it's the opposite. I don't know. We try and be easy to get along with. Don't mess with our family. Other than that, you're good. So anyway, I'm not dating.
My family. I will burn some stuff down over my kids.
He's incredibly unforgiving. Just trust me. So, so I'm not talking to a young lady right now. Don't have any kids. So I think all of our friends got kids.
No, there's a few of them that are still on the non-kid path.
But they wifed up, right?
Yeah, if they don't have kids, then I think they're married.
Okay, so I'm like the outlier, and sometimes I feel a little bit out of place. For the positive or negative, that's just how I feel, because they'll be celebrating birthdays or hey, this is the first time, their first baseball game, first soccer game, whatever, and I'm just like wondering what that's like. So you'll hear Columbus and Dayton a lot. That's where it all started. I actually live in Atlanta, Georgia right now, so these are going to start being remote. We'll figure that out when it gets to it. The point I'm coming across is I feel guilty sometimes because I left. I feel like I abandoned my family, and that's tough to like get to sleep sometimes at night. And that's why this is so important to me, and this is why you'll hear some of those names we mentioned in the beginning in the podcast, because these are literally part of my identity, and they're so important to me, even from far away. How often I call or text you, man?
If we don't talk, I wouldn't say, I don't think there's more than a 3-day span that we usually don't conversate at least about something.
True. This is my brother. We can always reach out. And then, fun fact, my biological brother's in town. I'm going to see him about an hour, actually. And so even from far away, what you say. It's communication, and that's what keeps our family strong. So this one, as we wrap up, there's so many variables, and there's like cultural, and economic, and political environment. But at the end of the day, we're always strong because we keep that communication open. And I know he's got my back no matter what, and vice versa.
And even going to communication, like, this ain't the 80s or the 90s, okay? You don't have just that touch-tone telephone that sits in your house with that little voicemail recorder box with that little cassette player.
Girl, how old are you?
Hey, I know I'm showing my age right now, but hey, I'm just
2 new messages. Look at
that's where I come from, man. Where people, you got the radio playing in the back, you record some little goofy song on your little 8-track tape in your voicemail box back in the day. Yeah, I know I'm old. Whatever.
We just lost all the millennials. They're like, what are you talking about?
What is that?
Voicemail. Who uses those?
Point is, it's not that time anymore. Between social media, cell phones,
right.
If you're not talking to somebody somewhere about something, somebody's probably talking about you or has recorded you or shot a video of you talking to somebody else about something that you don't have nothing to do with. So that technology has changed the game of communication. So if somebody ain't talking to you, it's because they don't want to.
What did we say earlier? People make time for what's priority, not for what's important. Because if you did what's important, you might be working out. You'd be eating better.
To you?
It's priorities. And that's where I drove up the road to be here till we figure out the technology of it, because it's a priority.
Exactly.
Family first. That's the number one.
Family first and always. Listen, whether my kids are sick or, like I said, if I've got a bad feeling about some juju with somebody, my priority is always my girls, their safety, their well-being. So if I get a bad vibe from somebody, if I'm not sure about something, I'm not gonna put my kids in the mix. But because I've got this kind of confidence in myself, like I'm the first line of defense when it comes to my kids. So I have no problem going out there right now I'm in a scout unit. I'll go out and do some recon. I'm like, all right, it's cool. Come on, baby girl. Walk in a straight line, follow me type stuff. That's exactly how I operate when it comes to everything. Because if you don't protect your kids, and some people feel like it was more dangerous back in the day or whatever. Kids were getting snatched, put on milk cartons, whatever. People feel like you can't leave your kids in the front yard no more, that kind of stuff. Point is that as a parent, I feel like I have to be vigilant at all times, because you do. Your kids don't know no better. And even if they do know better, there's too many powerful forces at work that are out here just waiting for an opportunity to catch you slipping. So don't get caught slipping.
Well, and by proxy, I try and have the same attitude when it comes to my family and friends, especially as their kids get older. I think we've got folks hitting the double digits. Yeah. I'm like, I can't take it for granted. So came up from Atlanta for, was it a second? And did I hit? I know I missed the first birthday because I was working.
Yeah, but you were there for the second.
Okay, all right. And so I'll be there next year. My goal is, honestly, I talked about making money earlier. My goal is not about the money. My goal is so I don't miss those things. Like, I want to be there for those things. I want to take those for granted. So, before we wrap up, any last thoughts?
I'll tell you what. No real thoughts. I know we touched a little bit on like society and some expectations.
Yeah.
I guess I wanted to just touch lightly on what I call adapting to societal norms.
Okay. So yeah, you brought that up earlier, where things are changing from, even the 90s.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know that we touched on traditional versus non-traditional roles, family, so on. But even within the dynamics of a family now, I know there's a big thing on like mental health, or a lot of people have that stipulation as far as disciplining their kids now. Like, should you do it? Should you not do it? I know that there's a lot of powers in play, like, what's child abuse, what's not child abuse, or neglect, so on and so forth. Like, the definitions and how we interpret them, and then versus how society looks at it and what is the law, is so crazy now. And it's changed so dramatically, even from when I was a kid until I'm an adult now. Like, I couldn't say or do half the things as an adult that, say, like, my parents or my grandparents.
True. Oh, grandparents, yeah.
Could do back in the day. Like, back in the day, it was, if you were doing some stuff and the neighbor caught you down the street doing whatever, they would whoop your butt, then send you home to get your butt whooped
again
by your parents type thing. And whatever other family members might be in there, like, everybody gets a turn. You just a pinata.
I ever tell you one time, my grandma had baked a cake, and she was like, you can have a piece. I'm like, cool. So I had a little piece, and it was good. So I had like another piece. and I had another piece. I ate half the cake. Like literally, people are like, you ate half the cake. No, I ate 50% of the cake. And she looks at the cake and she looks at me, and she gave me a knife, and I was like, oh. She's like, go outside, cut a switch. It's like, damn. You can't do that anymore. I mean, you could. You might end up on the news.
Listen, I feel like if I even looked at my kid probably the wrong way, there's some old white lady with her phone, with her hand in her pocket, with Child Protective Services on speed dial.
Like, why?
Ready to rock and roll and mess up my whole whatever, just because I was just like, man, if you don't get your stuff together.
Right.
Like, even just that right there, it puts you on edge. But at the same time, I honestly believe there are a lot of unfit parents out there too.
That's a whole nother episode.
And that old school mentality of like, mind your business is not your business type thing, that might have flew back then. But at the same time, like, the privacy and doing that kind of stuff in your house, it don't fly no more. There has to be some kind of accountability as well, because a lot of people out here aren't accountable for themselves. So I understand why those systems are in place, even if they are aggravating at times. Everybody got to be in check, okay, when it comes to things. I wish that there was this across-the-board slate that we all could follow and agree on, which isn't necessarily the case, but I understand why those things are there, because people have pushed things so far to have to need those things in place in order to keep people safe, or so that way, bad things don't happen to kids and whatnot. So I get it. Don't always agree with it, but I get it.
Word. Yeah, we definitely need to circle back around to mental health and adapting to change. But maybe we'll tackle that next time. For now, like and subscribe. Please share. We appreciate y'all joining us as we're documenting our adventure as we figure this out. I appreciate y'all being along for the ride. If you hear our phones blowing up, that's the squad hitting us up, asking us where we're at. So we'll catch y'all next week. Peace.
Peace.